CardGamesTV Podcast. Just some thoughts that I had about competitive play, time rules and stuff like that. Those types of factors to, just some ideas on how to improve competitive play. Because cheating is a factor. There's obviously more than one type. There's cheating on purpose, which is not good, but then there's the accidental cheating, where people can make a mistake, make a play that they actually couldn't do, but they didn't realize, their opponent didn't realize, and now it changes the game state. So that those are issues. But the worst kind of scenario is whether it's deliberate, like whether it's on purpose or by accident, or accident as in just the nature of the game, as some people like to see it, slow play. Right, the idea that sometimes, slow play happens, not because somebody's deliberately trying to burn out the clock, but it's because they're inexperienced, they're reading cards, they're trying to make a decision, and, factors like that, things like that, takes time, which is understandable, right, to a certain degree, but the way I look at it, if you're playing casually, that makes sense more than competitively. If you're playing competitively and you're going to tournaments and events, you gotta be on point, right? As in, you gotta already know what you're gonna do before you even go to the event, right? You're supposed to know what you're gonna do turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, and so forth and so forth. I understand that stuff happens in the game. You have to change your plays, you have to pivot and stuff, right? You have to adapt to what your opponent is doing sometimes, because your opponent might put you in a position where it's like, well, if you don't do something, you're gonna lose, right? So you get in those types of scenarios like, oh man, I can't play the play I want to play because I'll be in a position where my opponent could win, and I need to make sure they can't win, or at least it'd be harder for them to win on their next turn. So you have to change, your game plan. But that's just more of a matter of just moving your kill turn, right, or your play turn. The turn, like instead of playing your 4-drop on turn 4, you wait until turn 5 to play it, right? That's the only real difference. You just gotta move it up a turn. But other than that, there should be no reason why it should take you like 5 minutes or more. Shouldn't even take you longer than like 2 minutes, right? It should take you roughly a minute to charge energy, decide if you're going to make a play before you start attacking, or just swing with the leader, and then just go from there. And that's deciding if you want to change what you're going to do, because for me, it's always, the way I play, I know some people don't play this way because you can tell by how they're playing, how they react, that they don't plan out their next turn during their opponent's turn. Like on my turn, I make my plays that I know I'm going to make. I make them, I end my turn. On my opponent's turn, as soon as they draw, I'm quickly trying to think of what my next moves are going to be. I look at my hand, I decide what I'm going to charge as energy and so forth. So I do a lot of the thinking on my opponent's turn, in between, some of their moves. When they're charging, I'm thinking. When they're like, I activate my leader's effect, look at the top 5 cards in my deck. While they're doing that, I'm thinking what I'm going to do, right? I try to pay attention to what my opponent's doing, but typically, all I really need to know is, when they're attacking. So I tend to get a lot of free time on my opponent's turn to think of what I'm going to do on my turn. So that when my turn comes along, it's just a matter of play by numbers, as they say, right? Where I'm just going through the motions, right? So everything I do should be on autopilot. And when you play test a lot, you should already, instinctively, right, reflexively, like a reflex, right, ultra instinct style, right? You're supposed to already know what to do, when to do it, and it shouldn't take that long. It should take you less than a second to decide what you're going to charge. You shouldn't be taking like 5 seconds or more, trying to figure out what you're going to charge. You should already know what you're going to charge before it's even your turn. before you even you ended your last turn. You should already know. I usually know what I'm going to charge for the first 3 turns just off my opening hand. Just off my opening hand, I already know, okay, first 3 turns, I'm more likely charging these 3 cards out my hand. Now, depending on what I draw, if I take damage and add a card from my life to my hand, that might change my decision of what I'm going to charge, later on. But usually I already know what I'm going to charge for the first 3 turns, or 2 turns sometimes, depending on my hand. So I already look at my hand and be like, okay, what I'm charging. Sometimes I'll keep a card in my hand on purpose because I plan to charge it turn 1, and then I shuffle a lot of other cards into my deck, when I'm mulligan, and keep one specific card that's like, yeah, that card is energy. Like, for example, Android 21 Bad Omen. Her, I keep one copy of her, mulligan everything, whatever else I want to mulligan. And I keep her because I know turn 1 I'm gonna drop her, right into my energy. Sometimes, depending on the deck, I might, like a Napa Super Combo, for example, the multicolor one, right? Bang, I keep that, not because I'm gonna use it because it's a Super Combo. No, I'm gonna charge it as energy because I need the red green, right? It depends on, the way I built the deck and what my turn 1 charge is going to be, what my turn 2 charge is going to be. That should be all planned out way before you get to an event, so it shouldn't take that long for you to be charging anything. And if you're playing a monocolored deck, come on. You already know that if you have 2 copies of a card in your hand, just pick one and charge it. There's no need to have 2 copies of the same card in your hand, unless like you really, really need those 2 copies, right? But logically, any extra copy should be charged as energy. The way I always look at it is, since we play 4 copies of every card, one of every one of those cards is dedicated energy. So if you have 2, let's say Flying Nimbuses, right, in your hand, charge 1. I know it'd be nice to keep both, but charge 1, because you still have 3 left in, to play, and that's the idea. You charge 1, so that way that 1 pays for all the other 3. That's the way I look at it. So kind of like for me, it's kind of like Yu-Gi-Oh, because I'm used to playing 3 copies of everything in Yu-Gi-Oh. So the fact that I have 4 cards is like, okay, of every card, it's like, okay, one of every 4 cards in my deck is dedicated energy. So I should play 1 of each card from my deck in my energy. So it should be rare for you to see 2 copies of the same card in my energy area. Should be rare. But that's just how I be charging. So like I was saying, is that it shouldn't take that long for your turns to play out. I understand attacking and then waiting for your opponent to choose if they're going to negate or not. That's the thing. What should take up some time in your turn should be your opponent's plays and decisions, right? But what shouldn't take long is you making your plays on your turn. Your turn shouldn't take that long, because your opponent's going to probably take long to respond to whatever you're doing, because they have to decide, are they going to negate or not. They're trying to outthink you, or they're trying to predict what you're going to do. Are you going to overwhelm? So should they save one negate for the overwhelm play or something? Or are you going to sell Zeno them, or some stuff like that, or drop an ultimate or something? So they have to be careful, right? They can't just drop everything. They can't just negate whatever you throw at them and then be defenseless when you drop your final, your final card. So they have to think. So it's understandable that they take time defensively, but it shouldn't take time offensively. Like, your turn should be pretty quick. Your opponent's turn should be pretty quick. Right? The only thing that should take some time is interactions, right? It's me attacking, you declaring, you deciding if you're going to block or negate, and then combo phase. Those are the things that should take some time. It shouldn't, and logically, the way I play, I'm trying not to combo offensively, only defensively. So I'm just swing with the leader, no combo. Swing with a unison, no combo. Play a battle card, swing with a battle card, no combo. That's the way turns should be. Well, at least for me it is. Other people would, play how they want to play. But that should just be it. It's just, I'm always trying to, the funny thing is, the way I'm playing, the way I'm mastering the game is that I'm trying to do less when I play. Still do a lot, of course, like, game wise, deal a lot of damage, try to win the game, all that stuff, is still top priority, of course. But actions is what I'm talking about. I don't want to, take too many actions. Play this and activate that, and then play this and then play that, and then search. And that's why I don't even play the one drops to let me look at the top 5 cards in my deck or something and try and search something out. It's like, nah, I'd rather just play. I don't want to play something that makes me go look for something else. Unless what I'm playing automatically plays that card for me, like saying Scion or something, which lets me get 2 skillless battle cards. Unless I'm playing something like that, I don't want to play something that lets me look at the top card of my deck and then just add something to my hand, because I still have to play it later, right? I still need energy to play it, And then the whole looking and then the shuffling, that just adds extra steps that's not necessary. I'd rather just play something that lets me draw. Like, play this, draw 2 cards. Okay, I'd rather play that. Activate this, active main, draw a card, right? Or mill card, or burst 3 or something. Like, I'd rather do things like that. I'd rather do things where it's just quick actions. So I'm always trying to minimize my actions so it doesn't take that long for me to do stuff. Because the goal is charge energy, right? Swing with the leader, swing with a unison, swing with a battle card. Hopefully keep some energy up, obviously, right? To play, so that way when it's your opponent's turn, you can defend yourself. That's usually it. Turn 1, turn 2, you don't have to worry about, keeping energy up. Play them, tap them out, do however much damage you can do turn 1, turn 2. But turn 3 and above, you should try to keep at least 1 or 2 energy up to play, to play defense. Because, the more energy your opponent has, the more plays he can make, which means the more attacks he's going to have, which means you want to be able to defend. It's not a good idea to tap out after turn 3. If you're Soul Striker, do whatever you want. I don't care, right? It's Soul Striker. You don't never have to worry about tapping out. Always tap out, untap, tap out, untap, because it's Soul Striker. But if you're playing anything else other than Soul Striker, try to avoid tapping out. Let's see. But time, I'm trying to take less time making the most basic decisions, which is like charging energy, activating my leader's ability. Like if it's a Bowmon, I charge energy, draw a card, right? Then make a play, like a unison or a battle card. Then I start swinging, Then I look to see if I want to make another play to maybe attack or maybe put up a blocker, and then in my turn, I try not to take too much time. I try to do very little during the combat step, because I'm not trying to waste a lot of time, to do what? To end up not dealing no damage, right? The less I do, the better. As long as I still deal them, I want to deal damage, of course, but if I do less and deal no damage, because my opponent, did some stuff to stop me from dealing damage. Like if I swing with a unison, there's like 25k double strike, and then negate the attack. It's like, all right, well, you got that. You negated the attack. All right, I don't have to do anything else. Maybe swing with my leader, and end my turn. That's about it, right? Next turn, I'll try again, right? I don't want to spend too much time trying to do anything extra. I'm not going to be like, oh man, you negated my double strike. You know what? I'm going to play something else that has double strike, and try to deal 2 damage. So like, nah, I'll try next turn. I don't need to be in a hurry to try to deal 2 damage this turn. I can do it next turn, kind of stuff. So. And again, remember, a lot of the stuff you do, your opponent has has the ability to either block, negate, or out combo, or even activate effects, like maybe if they're leader, a unison, a battle card. So your opponent's already going to, take time making decisions, and which is already going to prolong your turn anyway. So you want to make sure that you don't take too long to make plays, because once you start making plays or start doing things, start taking actions, your opponent's going to start adding to that time, right? The time that's being wasted, per action. So once you start attacking or you play something, and they're like thinking, should I got Sealing Trunks? It's like, okay, I gotta wait until they make that decision. So it's already bad enough of an idea that if your opponent tries to slow play you on your turn by taking long to respond to everything you do, but the irony with that is that they're hurting themselves, right? Because you're making plays, you're doing stuff, you're establishing a board, you're setting up your defense, so you good, you doing what you're supposed to do. So if they're taking long to out combo an attack or declare a blocker or negate or something, or to decide if they're going to try to do some type of overrun play or something, but still take damage anyway type of deal, or just take the damage and not even try to overrun play, all that extra stuff, that's hurting them more than you, because that's taking less time out of their turn, right? Because you're running out of time. So if they slow play you on your turn, that's bad for them more than for you, because you getting your turn. Part of the problem with slow playing is not only does it burns out time from the match, so it makes it where y'all have less turn to play, it's the fact that they're burning out your turn, because they're extending their turn by taking up time from your turn. So once you finally do get a turn, you gotta play catch up. You gotta try to do things quickly to catch up to the fact that they burned out time. So that's why it's not a good idea that people can do that. People can take as long as they want on their turn, and then it gets hard to point out if somebody's slow player or not. One of the ways you can get a big idea that somebody's slow playing, or at least mitigate the possibility of somebody trying to slow play, or if they do slow play, it doesn't benefit them, right? It doesn't benefit them by hurting you, type of deal, is if we have timed turns, right? If every turn is timed, 2 minutes, 3 minutes per turn type of thing, depending on how many, depending on how much time you have for the match, that would determine the average time a turn should take. Another thing this does by having a set time is that it will punish, right, and it'll definitely disencourage players who will deliberately try to play a deck that deliberately takes a long time to play, right? So that kind of that's a good thing, because one, I see that as an issue in Yu-Gi-Oh! When certain decks, people start playing combo decks more than they used to, and a lot of the combos took like a long time. And we always make the joke that they got 12-hour turns, and the thing is like, well, technically a lot of the turns did take a long time. Some turns took 10 to 15 minutes, and you have 45-minute rounds, which means every match, every best 2 out of 3 is about 15 minutes each, right? Every duel is about 15 minutes. So the fact that a player can take up to 15 minutes on one turn, that is bullshit. And the fact that they not fixing that by limiting the amount of time. Because there was a game program called Yu-Gi-Oh! Pro. Now it's called Edo Pro. I think Edo Pro does still have the time. And that's the thing. It has a timer. It has a time for your turn. So you only have but so much time on your turn. I think it's about 5 minutes. I think you get like 3. It's between 3 to. It's 180 seconds, right? So yeah, about 3 minutes, right? Yeah, 3 minutes. Right, 3 minutes. That's it. So 180 seconds. So 3 minutes. 3 minutes per turn. I do a lot in 3 minutes. I pull off combos in 3 minutes and battle phase. No way, and that's in Yu-Gi-Oh! Right? So no way in Dragon Ball Super where not everything's free. We got some free play cards, but not everything's free. So you gotta charge energy, you gotta pay for this and that, you gotta trigger this and trigger that, and then you gotta declare attacks and all this stuff. So it's like You know, 3 minutes is more than enough time to do a lot of stuff. 2 minutes is already enough time, but it definitely shouldn't take that long for the turn. But if someone's taking 5 minutes, 6 minutes, 7-minute turns, that's a problem. No way that's not slow play when they're taking that long. Because even if you're taking your time, you know, trying to make decisions of what you're going to do, 3 minutes is more than enough to make those decisions. Especially if you only have 3 attacks: leader, unison, and a battle card swing. A minute per each, you know, attack, even to prep it, just to even activate my leader's effect, right? And then awaken my leader or something like that, or declare an attack with my leader, then awaken during battle, and then combo and do this and that. All that just with the leader alone should take less than a minute just to do that. And then play your unison and attack with your unison, and then do whatever you want to do with the unison, right? Activates effect, you know, it's you know, +1 or -1 or whatever, you know, effects it have. Then swing. That should take about a minute. Then when you play a battle card, activate the battle card's effect, swing with the battle card. See, all that stuff should take about a minute. So it should be about a minute per everything you're gonna do, because typically all you're attacking with is a leader, a unison, and a battle card. At least one at minimum. Obviously, if you have more battle cards, that's, you know, that changes things. If you make tokens to attack with, and changes things, right? That adds to how many attacks. But it shouldn't take that long for you to decide that you want to play a whole bunch of battle cards or play a whole bunch of tokens and attack with them. It shouldn't take that long. You should already been made the decision of what you're gonna do before your turn before you even had a turn to even start making any plays. You're supposed to have your turn 1, turn 2, turn 3, turn 4, turn 5, turn 6 already planned out. So there should be very little thinking. There should be very little hesitation. It shouldn't take too long to play each turn. Each turn should be real quick. I remember there was a time before the way it is now, players back in the day, you'd be like, turn 1, play an energy, end their turn. Like, they didn't do anything. They didn't even swing with their leader. Or if they did, okay, they swung with their leader, bang, opponent took a damage. Turn 2, they'll play an energy, swing with the leader again, maybe combo or not, depending if they really want to deal damage or not. And that's it. And then once they deal 3 damage, they try to deal no more damage. Then they just wait until turn 4 to start making some plays, or they'll play like maybe a 2-drop or 3-drop, because they always want to keep one energy up. And then after that, just, you know, around turn 6, turn 7, around turn 8 is when they're trying to, you know, do the 5+ damage in a single turn, where they're just swinging with a whole bunch of double strikes, trying to, you know, bring their opponent from 5 life down to 0. Because obviously you don't want to knock them down to 4 life, because they could always awaken. You always wanted the advantage to your opponent awakens on your turn, not their turn, because on their turn it would be more beneficial. So you rather they awaken on your turn, you know, when you start attacking, and then they could awaken, but you rather they awaken on your turn, not their turn. So you want to force the awaken, which was the whole point. You get them close enough to be able to awaken, but don't, you know, let them awaken. Sometimes you would do just 2 damage, because if your opponent has something that can make them take a life, they'll end up at 5, not at 4. So they'll end up at 5, and then later on when you're ready, after turn 3, you know, once you're on turn 3, turn 4, for example, that's when you'll try to apply pressure, start swinging with the leader, battle cards, you know, and that's a, you know, some double strike, you know, some chopper play or something, and you try to finish off the game at that point in time. Which ironically, I'm trying to bring back that style of playing, where, you know, you just deal, you know, maybe 3 to 4 in the first 2 turns, and then after that just stall for a couple turns until you have a good amount of energy where you can make plays but still have enough energy left over to be defensive in case you don't succeed in going for game. You can, you know, you'd still be able to defend yourself the following turn, especially with all these floodgate negates. You know, you always want to keep, you know, 1 to 2 energy up and play these floodgate negates and get that extra turn to try again after that. So you don't, you know, always try to avoid tapping out. Unless you're Soul Striker, then it doesn't matter if you tap out. What else? But like I said, man, the time thing, you know, it's like we need to be able to make it where, you know, people can't deliberately take a long time to play their turns, or accidentally take too long to play the turns. Because that is unfair, where you got one player, because of their skill level, right, as in their ability to make decisions fast, their ability to read, because sometimes reading is a factor. Somebody mentioned that, it's like, oh man, sometimes you're reading somebody's effect, or you're searching for a card through a card effect or something, and you're shuffling your deck, and stuff like that. That takes a lot of time. It's like, yes, more reasons why as a competitive player you should not be doing that. As a casual player, yeah, take your time, shuffling and searching and activating 12 effects a turn. Yeah, go ahead, have fun. You have plenty of time. But when you're playing competitively, it always seems weird to me that competitive players don't play, or at least don't have the proper mindset, where they're trying to get more for less, right? The whole pay, the whole, pay less, get more type concept. It's like you think they will try to do less actions, reduce the amount of steps it takes for them to achieve a goal, right? This is why I always did stuff like Bodyguard Logic for free, right? 15k for free, swing with it. My opponent doesn't negate. I pay 1 energy, Champa, bang, 25k double strike. That's a lot cheaper, right? For 1 energy, I essentially have a 25k double strike swinging at my opponent, and it's more likely going to hit because my opponent's more likely not interested in sacrificing 15k combo power from their hand just to try to stop 2 damage, and that's if they're awakened. Let's say they're not awakened, then they need 20k combo power. So they need 20k. So that's either 2 super combos or 4 5ks from their hands. 4 cards. So think about 2 cards or 5 cards straight out of their hand just to prevent 2 damage. Typically they don't stop it and they just take it. They just take the 2 damage. And that was just a 1 energy payment right there. I just paid 1 energy just to do that. While most people, in order to have a 25k double strike, they will have to pay like 4 to 5 energy, and they have to wait until turn 4 or 5 to even have that type of power. I can do that as soon as turn 1. You know what I mean? I could swing my leader, and let's say my leader has the ability to gain 5k power, right? So it's 15k on the front side. Then I chomp it, bang, 25k double strike. As soon as turn 1. My opponent takes the hit. They're already at 6 life now. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. Like, that's why I've been doing that for a long time. That's why we say the first 4 damage is the easiest, next 2 require a little effort, and the last 2 is the hardest. Because by the time you're trying to deal the last 2 damage, your opponent's defenses is going to be a lot higher. And they're going to try to defend as hard as possible. Right? So you have to put in that extra effort to deal the last 2. So that's why it's so weird that to see people take so long per turn, and then they get to turn 4, turn 5, and their opponent is like at 5 life or something. I'm like, how do you let that happen? How do you let your opponent have that much life? You're already on turn 4 and they still have 5 life. Like, they should have at least been at 3. At least 3. 4 to 3. 3 makes more sense. That means you actually put effort. If it's just 4, then it's like, you barely did anything. That looks more like you've just been swinging with your leader most of the time. But I expect a little something. I expect your opponent to be down to 3 at least by turn 4. If you're not doing that much actions, at least 5 damage should be dealt in the first 4 turns of the game. Because sometimes people play however they play. I'm not saying people should play like I play. I'm just saying that it's something that I noticed. I noticed there's a big difference in the way I play and the way they play. The amount of damage I deal versus the amount of damage they deal. And, our goals, my goal is to deal 8 damage as quickly as possible. with very little effort, which means very little combo power, very little, need for like super high rarity cards or something, like, you know what I mean? Being able to deal 8 damage without an SDR, as it were. Like, I don't need Cell Zeno. Ironically, I do own the card now. Finally, I got Cell Zeno. I bought a whole bunch of ultimates, by the way. I bought a whole bunch of ultimates. I pulled an ultimate Unison. Is the Super Fin, right? No, it's the Super Mirror Fin, something like that. I think it's Super Mirror because it's Mirror and Fin fused, so it's Super Mirror, whatever. Anyway, I got that nice, secret. So that's kind of cool to have that. It's like, oh, that's cool. I pulled an ultimate. But then I bought a whole bunch of really good ultimates. One in particular I've been wanting for a long time, which is the Gogeta, Super Saiyan 4 Gogeta 10 drop. Because it's a good generic card. You could play it for 5, if I'm right, if all your energy is the same color. So it's good for mono-color decks. So it's definitely a good generic ultimate for any deck. It's my substitute for, what's her name, Pan. I would like to get my hand on Pan. She's over $200 right now. This Gogeta I bought was like $110 or something like that. So it was half the price. So that's why I scooped it up. Eventually I'll get Pan. Hopefully she'll drop more and drop down to like 100 and something range, and then I'll scoop her up. But anyway, what other stuff? Yeah, the new Goku Unison, well, we're talking about competitive play. So time is a thing you want to improve, so that way everybody gets enough time to play out their play out the game, play out and not feel like they're cheated because their opponent got to play the game longer than they did. Their opponent got more turns. It's like, wait, my opponent got like 4 turns, I only got 3 turns, and that's unfair because they got that one extra turn makes a difference, right? That kind of stuff. You don't want to end up in that scenario where you don't get the same equal amount of turns, or their turns take longer than your turns, which is very problematic. And it's bad that if the turn takes long because of the deck they're playing, which is not cool to play a deck that deliberately takes long to play, right? As well as, taking long to play because you're busy reading your own card effects, reading your opponent's card effects, trying to decide which card you're going to play. Are you going to charge this one or this one? Like, stuff like that shouldn't happen. Not in the competitive scene. Things should be way faster. You know what I mean? Another thing about competitive play that needs fixing is the what was it? I just forgot. What was it? So time is an issue. Oh yeah, the rounds thing, the whole undefeated rule. That's terrible. A lot of people agree. I agree as well. Because when I went to that 1K event that one time, it was supposed to be like 8 round Swiss or something like that, and we only got 4 rounds because they wanted to do the whole undefeated rule thing. I'm like, what? And it's like I didn't understand what that meant, and then when it happened, it's like, wait, what? Only 4 rounds? But y'all said 8 rounds. But it's like, yeah, 8 rounds. Unless undefeated, and it's like, what? I don't even get what that means. What do you mean undefeated? We still got people here playing though, but it's not like people left. But anyway, it just seemed weird at first, and then it's like, okay, a lot of us traveled, a lot of us spent money to come here, to play 8 rounds of Swiss, considering the fact that that's what was promoted. It was promoted that it'd be 8 rounds. This whole 8 rounds or until undefeated. that extra clause, that until undefeated, that right there is what ruins things. It's like, no, I pay to play 8 rounds. I want the 8 rounds. I'm not looking for a fast tournament, right? I'm not looking for, get in, get out in less than an hour type things. Like, nah, I didn't spend time and money and effort to come here just to spend an hour or less, playing a couple quick games and that's it. It's like, no. I'm here for a full day of fun and experience, or at least half of a day. I'm expecting, at least 3 to 4 hours or more of time playing. This is supposed to be, an event, a tournament of champions, right? I want my money's worth. That's the other thing is, depending on how much you pay to play the game, to enter the tournament, that's a big, huge factor. You're paying to, like, if I pay to play an event and it's 8 rounds of Swiss or 10 rounds of Swiss, I want all of those rounds. I paid for those rounds. That's why it's bullshit to get less than what I paid for. I paid for 8 rounds Swiss. I want 8 rounds. That's why it's disrespectful to end the event sooner than people, expected. So don't surprise people would be upset with that. Something they expected to last to a certain amount of time for it not to last that long. So we definitely gotta get rid of that stupid rule. There was the thing about the whole tiebreaker, tiebreaker, draws. The idea of draws happening. It's like, okay, well, they definitely should figure out how to rule draws. That way it will work, right? That way it wouldn't cause a problem. Because if it's creating an issue, then you need to figure out how to fix it, right? How to make it where it isn't an issue. That's why when you have set time and you make sure that the way it should be is that you should be able to start an event early enough that people can make it, not too early that it would be hard for people to make it to the event, early enough that people can make it to the event, be able to play out a good amount of rounds, but still have space for like at least maybe one more round, right? And that one more round can be for the people who who tied, just so you can fix the tie scenario, right? So that way you can get the better ranking, an extra round to try to and the way you could do the match, it could be like 4 turns, so each player gets 2 turns to try to let's say, what, let me see, two turns, like 4 turns, because the first 2 turns not much happens. Most decks don't do anything on the first 2 turns, so turn 3 and turn 4 is where a lot of the action really happens in a battle, in a duel. So 4 turns, right, or 8 turns if you want to add both of them. So 4 turns for each player. So the match will end at the end of whoever, at the last person who reached their turn 4. So that would be a total of 8 turns to determine, and then you just do the whole life thing. Whoever has the most life wins that, and that's will help you undo the tie and stuff, and then make it where like, okay, now everybody can. And then of course it'd be a best of 1, right? So it'd be a best of 1, 8 turns, and whoever has the highest wins, and then that's will help you out with the the whole tie thing. let's see. Another way they could incorporate that is like in between some rounds. Cause I think sometimes in between rounds they'll give a break. Where humans playing back to back rounds would be a problem. So maybe like every 2 rounds they'll take, like, let's say, I don't know, 15 to 30 minute break, and within that time you can have people do their tiebreaker type thing during that time. It's just, hopefully they'll figure out. It's just some ideas that I'm thinking of, like ways that it could help fix this stuff. I personally have not yet really experienced a lot of these issues. I mean, the whole until undefeated, I've experienced that. Not a fan of that. So I could definitely talk on not liking that. I want all my rounds. But I don't know much about the whole, the whole tie thing. Because either I win or I lose. There is no tie. I either win or I lose. That's as simple as that. And then, slow playing. The whole fact that people could take long. I wouldn't be surprised. On Untap, I definitely experienced a lot of slow play, and sometimes I've been quote unquote slow play, but that's only because my computer is slow as hell. So that's why it's not, my computer is slow as hell. So that's why it's not a surprise that that's a factor. Right. Sorry about that. It's not surprised that my computer is an internet connection is slow, so it takes a while for things, for things to happen. Sometimes the computer freezes, and I'm trying to click on something and it's not clicking. I try to drag something, it's not dragging. So, in real life, I'm a lot faster when it comes to playing, but on Untap, I'm a lot slower because of all the stuff I have to choose and pick and move this and move that. Is a lot of extra steps just to try to make a play that normally in real life it'll just take me seconds to do. It might take me 3 to 4 seconds to make a play on Untap. But anyway, ironically, if I was to play like online, it would typically be more Untap than anything, just because I'm more used to playing on Untap, even though it takes longer, because of my internet. And I don't know how to do the shortcut hotkey thing, so I can admit that. I do things the hard way. I don't do the hotkey stuff. Maybe someday I'll start learning how to do the hotkeys, and I could just start pressing buttons on my keyboard, and that will just make stuff faster. Like, I do tap all my energy one at a time. There is a way to highlight them and tap them all at once. I gotta figure out how to do that, so that way it speeds up the process. I just don't take time to try to figure out how to use every feature on Untap. I'm pretty busy doing other stuff, so whenever I do play, I'm just playing the best I can with the system. Instead of trying to improve on how to use the system, I just play it the way I'm just used to playing the system. What else? Well, this podcast is long enough, but let's see. Oh yeah, definitely need to make it easier to get to events. They need some places that are easier to get to by car, public transportation, trains. We definitely need to try to avoid airplanes being a mode of travel to go to an event. It should really be down to cars and possibly trains. Should be the common way to get to an event, where you want to make it possible for a lot of players to get to a certain location. It needs to be car and train accessible. The idea of making it where it's airplane accessible only, that's not good. I shouldn't have to catch a flight to go from Philly to Florida to play a game, I should be able to play a game closer to where I live that, you know, is part of this part of the event. So there should be, you know, like if you're gonna host a tournament, there should be more than one location for that specific event to allow more people to be able to play at the event. You know, or at least allow it where, you know, like each physical location, you know, you have winners. So you'll have two people who won a certain event. It's like, oh yeah, I'm first place at this location for this 1K event, and I'm first place in this location for the 1K event. It's the same event, like the same tournament, but two different locations. So you're gonna have two first place winners, two second place, and so forth and so forth. So you're gonna have two top cuts at different locations for the same, you know, tournament, the same venue as it were. Well, not venue, but same tournament. I hate the idea that you gotta go to one specific location. Everybody has to try to get to that one location just to play card games, just to be involved in the event, when the event should be hosted and held in multiple locations so more people can play, more money can be made by the event organizers, and then it's a win-win for everybody. Tournaments should be more accessible, is what I'm saying. Just like cards should be accessible. You know, it is a game. We should be able to get access to the cards that we need to play the game, and access to be able to play the game, right, competitively. You know, we already have ways to play casually, but we need ways to play competitively, and that needs to be easier, not harder. So that'll be the end of this podcast.